Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to explore the labyrinths of the human mind, a place filled with hidden forces that silently guide our actions, thoughts, and dreams. Many of us walk through life unaware of the vast, unconscious world within us, a world that holds the keys to understanding who we truly are. It's easy to think of ourselves as solely governed by our conscious choices, our immediate thoughts, and our recent actions. But in reality, much of what shapes us lies beyond the surface. The unconscious mind is a powerful, mysterious force deeply embedded in our psyche. It stores not only forgotten memories, but also unexplored desires, unlost conflicts, and lost potential. The paradox is clear. What we do not know about ourselves often exerts the greatest influence over our lives. In recognizing the unconscious, we open the door to profound self-discovery. However, knowing the unconscious is not as simple as embracing one's true self. The self we show the world is often carefully curated, a persona crafted to fit societal expectations and personal ambitions. This persona, while necessary, is only a fragment of who we are. Beneath it lies the shadow, those rejected, unacknowledged parts of us that we fear or deny. The shadow contains everything we cannot or will not accept, the traits and desires that don't align with our idealized self-image. Yet, by shunning our shadow, we inadvertently give it power over us to grow and evolve. We must not only accept these darker aspects of ourselves, but integrate them into our understanding of who we are. This brings us to the ultimate aim of the journey, the search for wholeness. The path toward wholeness is not a simple one, nor is it a destination reached in an instant. It is a lifelong process of individuation, a process of integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of the self. To achieve true harmony within ourselves, we must embrace both our light and our darkness. Only by accepting the full spectrum of our being can we begin to experience the deep peace that comes from self-understanding and self-acceptance. So let us not fear the shadows that reside within us, nor let us be deceived by the masks we wear in public. Instead, let us embark on the quest for our true selves, embracing the richness of both our consciousness and our unconsciousness. In doing so, we discover not only who we are, but also who we are meant to become. The unconscious mind is an intricate and profound aspect of the human psyche, a vast reservoir of thoughts, memories, instincts, and emotions that influences our perceptions and actions in ways we often cannot comprehend. While we often consider ourselves in control of our lives, there is a deeper hidden realm within us that guides our behavior and shapes our experiences. This unconscious realm is not merely a passive storehouse for forgotten memories, but an active, dynamic force that constantly interacts with our conscious thoughts, often steering us toward decisions and paths we don't fully understand. The unconscious is often contrasted with the conscious mind, which is where our immediate awareness and rational thought reside. In everyday life, we are primarily focused on the conscious mind, making decisions, solving problems, and navigating through the world with deliberate intention. However, beneath this layer of awareness lies the unconscious, which holds a vast wealth of information that remains outside of our immediate grasp. This unconscious influence can manifest in many ways. In our dreams, through seemingly random thoughts, in our behavior patterns, and in our reactions to the world around us. These unconscious forces can emerge without our permission, and when we fail to understand them, they can have a significant, often disruptive effect on our lives. The unconscious mind is often seen as a source of hidden wisdom, containing not only the repressed memories and unresolved emotions of our past, but also the latent potential and creative possibilities of our future. It serves as a vast archive of all experiences, whether conscious or not, and these stored memories can shape our emotional responses and thought patterns. When we encounter new situations, the unconscious draws on this repository of knowledge, often guiding our reactions based on past experiences. For instance, a person who has been repeatedly hurt by others in the past may unconsciously interpret a neutral action as a threat, causing them to react with anxiety or fear, even if the situation does not warrant such a response. These unconscious patterns are often ingrained so deeply that we may not recognize them. Yet they can significantly influence our relationships, choices, and overall life trajectory. One of the most fascinating aspects of the unconscious is its ability to communicate with the conscious mind in subtle and sometimes surprising ways. This communication can take place through dreams, symbols, or even spontaneous thoughts and insights. Dreams, for example, are often considered a direct reflection of the unconscious mind. When we sleep, our conscious mind takes a back seat and the unconscious can come forward in the form of symbolic imagery and narratives. These dreams may contain messages that reflect our emotional states, unresolved conflicts, or even our deepest desires. While we may struggle to interpret the meaning of our dreams in the moment, upon reflection, they often reveal profound insights into our inner world. Additionally, the unconscious mind can manifest through symbols and archetypes, which are universal patterns of thought that transcend individual experience. These archetypes, such as the hero, the wise old man, or the shadow, represent deep, primal aspects of the human experience that are shared across cultures and time periods. These archetypes exist within the collective unconscious, a concept that suggests that certain fundamental images and symbols are inherited and shared by all humans. By understanding these symbols and archetypes, we can gain a deeper understanding of the unconscious mind and the ways in which it shapes our behaviors and perception. The influence of the unconscious mind is not always negative or disruptive, however. In fact, the unconscious holds a great deal of potential for creativity and personal growth. Many of the greatest discoveries in art, science, and literature have been the result of unconscious inspiration. The creative process, in particular, is often thought to be a product of the unconscious mind, with many artists, writers, and musicians describing moments of sudden inspiration that seem to arise from nowhere. These moments of insight or brilliance may not be fully understood at the time, but they are often the result of the unconscious mind synthesizing information and presenting it to the conscious mind in the form of new ideas or creative visions. This capacity for creative expression is not limited to artists alone. It is something that resides in all of us. The unconscious mind is a wellspring of potential, and by tapping into it, we can unlock new possibilities for personal growth and self-expression. The challenge, however, is that many of us are disconnected from this deeper layer of our psyche. We may have learned to suppress or ignore our unconscious thoughts and feelings in order to conform to social norms or avoid facing painful emotions. This disconnection can result in a sense of inner fragmentation, where our conscious mind and unconscious mind are at odds with each other, and we may feel disconnected from our true selves. To bridge the gap between the conscious and unconscious, it is essential to engage in self-reflection and self-awareness. By cultivating an attitude of curiosity and openness toward our inner world, we can begin to explore the messages and insights that our unconscious mind is trying to communicate. This process can involve various methods, such as meditation, journaling, or creative expression. These practices can help us access the unconscious mind and bring its hidden wisdom to the surface. When we are able to integrate the unconscious into our conscious awareness, we become more whole, more authentic, and more in tune with our true selves. Moreover, understanding the unconscious is not just about recognizing repressed memories or hidden desires. It is also about acknowledging the complex interplay between the unconscious and the conscious mind. The unconscious is not a separate, isolated entity. It is intimately connected with our conscious thoughts, emotions, and actions. This relationship between the conscious and unconscious is dynamic and constantly evolving. As we grow and change, our unconscious mind also evolves, responding to our experiences and shaping our perceptions of the world. By understanding this relationship, we can gain greater control over our lives and become more attuned to the deeper forces that influence our behavior. One of the most profound ways in which the unconscious affects our lives is through its role in shaping our sense of identity. Our identity is not simply a product of our conscious thoughts and decisions. It is also influenced by the unconscious forces that lie beneath the surface. The way we see ourselves, the way we relate to others, and the way we navigate the world is shaped by the unconscious patterns and experiences that we carry within us. These unconscious influences can either support or hinder our personal growth, depending on how well we are able to recognize and integrate them. For example, an individual who has grown up in an environment where they were constantly criticized or devalued may develop an unconscious belief that they are unworthy or inadequate. This belief may not be consciously acknowledged, but can profoundly affect a person's behavior and self-esteem. On the other hand, someone who has experienced love and validation may carry an unconscious belief in their worthiness and potential, which can empower them to pursue their dreams and goals. These unconscious beliefs, shaped by past experiences, are not fixed. They can change over time as we become more aware of them and work to transform them. In essence, the unconscious mind is a powerful and transformative force that holds the key to unlocking our deepest potential. By acknowledging its existence and understanding its influence, we can begin to access the vast reservoir of wisdom, creativity, and insight that lies within us. The unconscious is not something to fear or suppress. It is a source of knowledge and growth waiting to be explored. Through this exploration, we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves, our motivations, and our place in the world, leading to a more fulfilling and authentic life. The complexity of the human psyche is not merely a collection of surface-level traits and characteristics. It is an intricate web of conscious and unconscious forces that govern much of our behavior, relationships, and experiences. Central to this complexity is the duality between the persona and the shadow. Both represent integral parts of the self, yet they are often at odds with one another, creating a tension that can either hinder or foster personal growth. Understanding the dynamic between these two aspects of the psyche is vital in uncovering the deeper layers of the self and achieving psychological balance. The persona is the outward face that individuals present to the world. It is the mask we wear to fit into society, to meet the expectations of others, and to navigate the demands of daily life. The persona is shaped by social conventions, cultural norms, and personal experiences, and it is a necessary aspect of functioning in the world. It allows us to present ourselves in ways that are acceptable to others, creating a sense of belonging and facilitating social interaction. The persona may manifest in various forms depending on the roles an individual occupies, such as a parent, a professional, or a friend, and it is often tailored to suit the specific needs and expectations of different social contexts. However, while the persona is necessary for social functioning, it can also be limiting. The persona is not the full expression of who we are. It is merely a projection, a construction that hides the more complex and nuanced aspects of our personality. In many cases, individuals become so identified with their persona that they lose touch with their true selves. They begin to see themselves only through the lens of the roles they occupy and the image they project to the world. This can lead to a sense of disconnection as individuals struggle to reconcile the mask they wear with the deeper, often unexplored parts of their psyche. The tension between the persona and the shadow arises when the persona is inauthentic or rigidly adhered to. The persona is shaped by external influences, and its primary function is to ensure social acceptance and stability. In this process, individuals often suppress or ignore parts of themselves that do not fit into the socially accepted mold. These rejected or repressed aspects of the self, be they emotions, desires, or behaviors, become relegated to the unconscious mind, forming what is known as the shadow. The shadow is the collection of traits, impulses, and memories that are denied or disowned by the conscious self because they are perceived as undesirable or socially unacceptable. It consists of everything we are not but still in some way are. These hidden aspects of the self can range from negative qualities such as anger or jealousy to positive ones such as creativity, vitality, and assertiveness that may have been repressed due to fear of judgment or rejection. While the shadow is often associated with negative traits, it is important to recognize that it is not inherently harmful. The shadow contains a vast array of untapped potential, and it is precisely through the integration of these neglected aspects that individuals can achieve a more authentic and balanced self. The challenge, however, is that the shadow is typically unconscious, and individuals may be unaware of the traits they are suppressing. It is easy to project the shadow onto others, attributing the qualities we reject in ourselves to the people around us. For example, someone who denies their own feelings of anger may find themselves easily irritated by others' anger. Or a person who has repressed their creativity may feel threatened by those who express themselves freely. The more we deny and repress these aspects of ourselves, the more power the shadow holds over us, often manifesting in unconscious ways that we do not fully understand. To reconcile the tension between the persona and the shadow, it is essential to engage in a process of self-exploration and self-acceptance. The integration of the shadow requires us to confront and embrace the aspects of ourselves that we have disowned or rejected. This process of integration is not about eliminating the shadow, but rather acknowledging its existence and allowing it to become a conscious part of the self. By doing so, individuals can achieve a sense of wholeness, recognizing that both the persona and the shadow are necessary components of the self. The persona allows us to function in the world, while the shadow holds the key to our deeper, more authentic. The path to integrating the shadow is not always easy. It requires courage, honesty, and vulnerability to face the parts of ourselves that we have long ignored or denied. This process often involves confronting painful or uncomfortable emotions such as shame, guilt, or fear that have been buried in the unconscious. These emotions may arise as we begin to question the roles and identities we have constructed for ourselves and explore the parts of us that have been repressed. It is important to approach this process with compassion and patience, recognizing that the journey toward integration is a lifelong endeavor that requires continuous self-reflection and growth. One of the most effective ways to begin the process of shadow integration is through self-awareness. By becoming more mindful of our thoughts, behaviors, and reactions, we can begin to identify the unconscious patterns that influence our actions. Journaling, meditation, and psychotherapy are all valuable tools for gaining insight into the shadow and uncovering the hidden aspects of the self. By exploring the unconscious mind through these methods, we can begin to understand the roots of our fears, insecurities, and desires and bring them into conscious awareness. Dream analysis is another powerful tool for accessing the shadow. Dreams provide a direct window into the unconscious, and they often contain symbolic representations of the repressed aspects of the self. By paying attention to these themes, symbols, and emotions present in our dreams, we can gain insight into the parts of ourselves that we are neglecting or rejecting. For example, a recurring dream about being chased may reflect an aspect of the self that we are avoiding or running from, while a dream about being trapped may symbolize feelings of restriction or helplessness. By interpreting these symbols and reflecting on their meaning, we can begin to uncover the hidden aspects of the self and work toward integrating them. It is important to note that the integration of the shadow does not mean acting on every impulse or desire that arises from the unconscious. Rather, it involves recognizing and acknowledging these aspects of the self without judgment or repression. The goal is not to eliminate the shadow, but to bring it into conscious awareness so that it can be understood and integrated into the larger framework of the self. This process allows individuals to become more authentic, more whole, and more capable of living in alignment with their true values and desires. The persona and the shadow are not opposing forces, they are complementary aspects of the self that must work in harmony for individuals to achieve a sense of psychological balance. The persona allows us to interact with the world and fulfill our social roles, while the shadow holds the key to our deeper potential and growth. By acknowledging and integrating the shadow, we can expand the boundaries of our identity and become more fully ourselves. This process of self-integration enables us to live more authentically, free from the constraints of the false personas we have created and the unconscious fears and desires that have held us back. The quest for wholeness is one of the most profound and universal journeys an individual can embark upon. It is a pursuit that transcends cultural, social, and personal boundaries, resonating deeply within the fabric of the human experience. Wholeness in this context refers to a state of integration and unity within the self, an alignment between the conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche, the integration of both light and shadow, and a deep harmonious relationship with one's authentic nature. This quest for wholeness is not simply about achieving a static goal or endpoint. It is a dynamic, ongoing process that unfolds throughout the entirety of one's life. As such, the search for wholeness requires an exploration of the self that is both profound and transformative. A journey that demands courage, introspection, and a willingness to confront the complexities of the human psyche. At the heart of the search for wholeness lies the concept of individuation, a process of self-realization and integration that leads to the emergence of a more complete, authentic version of the self. Individuation is not merely about self-improvement or striving toward an idealized version of oneself. It is about recognizing and embracing the fullness of who we are, including the parts of ourselves that we may have repressed, ignored, or rejected. It involves the merging of the conscious and unconscious elements of the self, the recognition and acceptance of both our strengths and our weaknesses, and the development of a sense of inner balance and harmony. One of the key aspects of individuation is the integration of the unconscious mind. The unconscious is not merely a passive repository of forgotten memories or repressed desires. It is a dynamic force that shapes our thoughts, behaviors, and perceptions, often without our awareness. The unconscious holds within it the elements of the self that have not yet been fully realized or expressed. Parts of us that may be hidden behind social masks, suppressed due to fear or shame, or simply overlooked in the hustle of everyday life. As we move through life, we often build personas, roles, and identities that allow us to function in society and meet external expectations. These personas may serve us in the short term, but they can also create a sense of fragmentation, a feeling that we are not fully in touch with our true selves. The persona, in its attempt to fit into society, often suppresses the unconscious material that doesn't align with the idealized image we present to the world. The process of individuation requires us to confront and integrate the unconscious aspects of the self that have been relegated to the background of our awareness. It asks us to face the parts of ourselves that we may have denied, rejected, or ignored, including the so-called shadow aspects of our personality. These are the traits, desires, or tendencies that we find difficult to accept because they contradict our conscious self-image or the social roles we are playing. The shadow may contain anger, envy, lust, or other emotions that we have learned to suppress in order to conform to social expectations. However, the shadow is not merely a repository of negative qualities. It also contains valuable, untapped potential, creativity, vitality, and assertiveness that can only be accessed through its integration. By embracing the shadow and bringing its contents into conscious awareness, we can begin the process of healing and wholeness. One of the most important aspects of the search for wholeness is the recognition that no part of ourselves can be discarded or ignored if we are to achieve true integration. Wholeness does not mean perfection or an absence of flaws. Rather, it means embracing the totality of our being, including our contradictions, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities. Wholeness is not about creating a perfect, flawless self, but about accepting and integrating the full spectrum of who we are. This process of acceptance requires an attitude of compassion and self-love, as it is all too easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism and judgment when we confront the less desirable aspects of ourselves. True wholeness comes from acknowledging that every part of us, whether light or dark, has a purpose and a place in the overall structure of our being. The journey toward wholeness also involved the cultivation of inner harmony. The psyche is made up of many layers and aspects, each with its own set of desires, motivations, and beliefs. The conscious mind may strive for certain goals or ideals, but there are often unconscious forces at play that influence our behavior in ways we cannot easily explain. These unconscious forces can create internal conflict as different aspects of the self pull in different directions. For example, an individual may consciously desire success and achievement, but may harbor deep-seated fears of failure or rejection that prevent them from fully embracing their potential. Alternatively, someone may be driven by a desire for love and connection, but may unconsciously push people away due to unresolved issues from their past. These internal conflicts can create a sense of inner turmoil, making it difficult to achieve a sense of peace or fulfillment. The path to inner harmony involves the integration of these conflicting aspects of the self. It is about recognizing the tension between different desires and motivations and finding ways to reconcile them in a way that honors the full complexity of the self. This process requires self-awareness and a willingness to confront the contradictions and paradoxes that reside within us. It also involves the cultivation of patience and acceptance, as the process of achieving inner harmony is not instantaneous, but rather a gradual unfolding of the self over time. An important component of this journey toward inner harmony is the development of the self's various psychological functions. Each person possesses a unique set of cognitive, emotional, and intuitive functions that shape the way they experience and interpret the world. Some individuals may be more rational and logical, while others may be more intuitive or emotionally driven. Each of these functions has its strengths and weaknesses, and the goal is to achieve a balance between them. For example, an individual who is highly intellectual may need to cultivate greater emotional awareness to connect with others more deeply, while someone who is very emotional may benefit from developing more rational decision-making skills. The integration of these different functions leads to a more complete and harmonious self, where all aspects of the psyche are given their due importance and attention. The search for wholeness is also deeply connected to the process of finding meaning and purpose in life. We are all driven by an innate desire to make sense of our existence, to understand our place in the world, and to contribute to something greater than ourselves. This search for meaning is often shaped by our unconscious desires and aspirations, which can guide us toward the path of individuation and personal growth. As we embark on this journey, we may encounter moments of doubt, confusion, and uncertainty. But it is through these challenges that we are given the opportunity to deepen our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. The process of individuation is not a linear or straightforward path. It is a winding, sometimes difficult journey that requires resilience, patience, and openness to change. Along the way, we may discover new aspects of ourselves, new passions, and new purposes that we had never previously considered. Ultimately, the search for wholeness is a journey towards self-actualization, becoming the fullest version of oneself, grounded in authenticity, balance, and inner peace. This journey does not have a clear or definitive endpoint, as it is an ongoing process of self-discovery and growth that continues throughout one's life. Wholeness is not a final state of perfection, but a dynamic process of integrating all parts of the self into a harmonious whole. It is the ongoing dance between the conscious and unconscious, the light and shadow, the known and unknown. The quest for wholeness asks us to embrace all of who we are, to step into our fullest potential, and to live a life that is aligned with our true selves. Through this process, we come to understand that we are not defined by our roles, our successes, or our failures, but by the wholeness of our being. And it is this wholeness, this deep sense of integration and authenticity that allows us to live a truly fulfilled and meaningful life. In conclusion, the exploration of the human psyche is an ongoing journey that encompasses the conscious and unconscious realms, the persona and the shadow, and the quest for wholeness. These interconnected concepts form the foundation of personal growth and self-understanding. By acknowledging the powerful influence of the unconscious mind, embracing the tension between the persona and the shadow, and committing ourselves to the process of individuation and integration, we pave the way for a deeper, more authentic connection with ourselves and the world around us. The path to wholeness is not a destination, but a continual unfolding, where we confront and reconcile the complexities of our inner worlds. It is through this journey that we come to realize that true fulfillment lies not in perfection, but in the acceptance and integration of all aspects of our being, light and dark, strength and vulnerability, desire and fear. In embracing this process with courage and openness, we unlock the potential for a richer, more meaningful life, one that is lived in harmony with our deepest truths.